I never imagined a millionaire would pay for a night with me until his secret left me speechless. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I sat in that dimly lit lounge, surrounded by whispers and shadows. The smell of expensive cologne hung thick in the air like a heavy fog. I felt unsteady, my fingers trembling around the glass of cheap wine. The clinking of crystal glasses didn't match the pounding of my heart. A millionaire. A chance. I had never dreamed of something like this. That my life had always been about struggling, clinging to hope with shaky hands. A single mom, balancing 2 jobs to keep food on the table for my little girl. I vividly pictured her bright smile, her innocent laughter echoing in my head. I couldn't let her down. But as I looked around me, in that place filled with power and wealth, I felt like a ghost. Out of place. Then he walked in. Tall, with jet black hair and icy blue eyes that seemed to hold secrets of their own. Each step was measured, confident. I caught my breath. A man who had everything. And yet, there I stood, staring at him, wondering what he saw in me. Our eyes locked for just a second, but it felt like a lifetime. No one around us existed. I watched as he spoke with a few well-dressed acquaintances, their laughter bouncing off the plush walls. My heart pounded harder. What was I doing here? Just a night, I reminded myself. Just this chance to escape. The room faded away. Minutes felt like seconds, and suddenly, I was standing right in front of him. The intoxicating scent of his cologne wrapped around me. He smiled, and it was like the world lit up. Something sparked in his eyes. Or was it a warning? I couldn't tell. Care for a drink? His voice was low and smooth, like velvet. I nodded, feeling lightheaded and strangely drawn to him. The distance between us felt electric. With each passing moment, the air thickened, as if it were charged with unspoken words. My stomach flipped, anticipation mixed with fear. He leaned in closer, and in that dim light, everything seemed surreal. He whispered something that sent chills down my spine. What if I told you that for one night, I could change everything for you? The weight of his words hit me like a freight train. Change? I hardly knew what that meant anymore. But then he continued, his voice dropping even lower. I'm not just a millionaire. I have a secret that could cost you more than you're willing to pay. My mouth fell dry. Curiosity surged through me, pushing aside the caution that had gripped my heart. I wanted to yelp. The thrill mingled with dread. What secret? I pressed, searching his face for answers, for any sign of danger. But he only chuckled softly, his eyes dancing with mischief. And before I knew it, my pulse quickened, and my mind raced with possibilities. What was I getting into? Why was I so willing to dive into this unknown? Just then, the lights flickered ominously, plunging the room into darkness for a split second. Gasps erupted like fireworks. When the lights returned, he was gone. I spun around, my heart pounding. What just happened? The silence clawed at me. I felt lost. Questions swarmed through my mind. Who was he really? What kind of life did he lead? And, most pressing of all, what was that secret? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence hung heavily, as if the room had inhaled and forgotten to exhale. I stood frozen, my heart a frantic drumbeat echoing in the void where he had just been. Although the chatter around me resumed, it felt distant, like a muted radio playing in the background of my mind. What was it about him that had captivated me so entirely? A mere glimpse, a whispered promise. Panic clawed at my insides as I navigated through the crowd of glamorous patrons, my eyes scanning for any sign of him. I needed to know more. Was I truly ready for what that change might entail? Finally, I stepped outside, feeling the cool night air wash over me, sharp and refreshing. I inhaled deeply, drowning out the scent of luxurious perfumes with the fragrance of night jasmine. The street was alive with sounds of laughter and chatter, but all I could hear was the echo of his ominous words. I could almost see the truth shimmer just out of reach, teasing me, offering whispered secrets that could either offer salvation or deeper despair. "Mommy?" A small voice broke through my thoughts, and I turned to see my daughter, Clara, standing at the edge of the sidewalk, her golden curls glowing under the streetlights. She looked so small and vulnerable, clutching her teddy bear tightly against her chest. "Sweetheart." I rushed toward her, scooping her up into my arms. "What are you doing here?" "I missed you. You said you'd be home earlier," she said, her voice small. I felt the weight of guilt settle heavily over my heart. "I wanted to surprise you." Her big, innocent eyes radiated love and trust, and I felt my heart break a little more. "Oh, Clara, I'm sorry I worried you," I murmured, cradling her against my chest, but my mind was still reeling from the encounter. "Let us go home, okay?" As we walked, I couldn't shake the worry that gnawed at my insides. What would happen if I wanted to know him more? There was so much at stake. My world wasn't so simple anymore. It was filled with uncertainty and choice. The next day, the sun broke through the clouds, invigorating the world with its warmth. I watched Clara as she played with her dolls, laughter bubbling from her lips. The sound tugged at my heart, drawing me back to focus on what truly mattered. But as the hours ticked away, so did my resolve. I found myself poring over my phone. Should I try to find him? What if he was just a man in a suit, wrapped in a mystery that was never meant for me? Perhaps there was safety in ignorance. Nevertheless, the allure of the unknown beckoned stronger than my fear. I scrolled through social media, searching for any hint of him. At long last, I stumbled upon a news article, his name emblazoned across the screen, paired with headlines screaming of scandal and drama. My heart raced as I read about a complicated web of lawsuits, past lovers, and accusations of deceit. But one line, in particular, stood out like a beacon. Known for his philanthropic efforts but shrouded in controversy, many wonder whether his wealth comes at a price. My stomach twisted. There was a darker side to wealth, one I hadn't considered. Could he be the very storm I'd been trying to steer clear of? Or was he simply a man seeking redemption? Just then, a soft knock echoed through my front door, jolting me from my thoughts. I opened it, my breath catching in my throat. It was him, his dark hair tousled and eyes glinting with an unreadable emotion. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice low and steady. The world around me blurred, leaving only the two of us, and I was acutely aware that with his arrival, every choice I made from this moment on could change everything. That I hesitated, uncertainty flooding my senses. "You shouldn't be here," I finally managed to say, my heart racing. "Please," he said, a hint of desperation cutting through his calm facade. "I need to explain." As I opened the door wider, the weight of the world settled on my shoulders, and just like that, I stepped further into the unknown, the air thick with questions unasked. As he crossed the threshold into my home, I knew the decision I was about to make could shatter the fragile world I had built for Clara and for myself. The door closed behind him, sealing away the sounds of the world outside as if it were just the two of us adrift in a sea of uncertainty. I could feel Clara's gaze from the living room, her innocent curiosity a piercing reminder of my responsibilities. "Look, I know this is sudden," he said, taking a step closer, his presence both magnetic and intimidating. "But there's so much you don't understand." "What is there to understand?" I shot back, anger swelling. "You waltz into my life with mysteries and complications, and now you want to explain? What could possibly justify your sudden appearance after everything I read?" His shoulders sagged almost imperceptibly, and I noticed the weariness in his eyes. "The things you read, there's context to everything. The media twists stories, and sometimes people aren't who they seem." "A man like you?" I scoffed, my voice trembling with a mix of frustration and confusion. "What do I even know about someone like you?" I've read the headlines, and they paint a picture I'm not sure I can ever reconcile. His gaze held mine, and for an infinitesimal moment, we were lost in the depths of each other's eyes. I didn't come here to deny who I am. But I want you to know there's more beneath the surface. It's not what it seems. Clara's soft laughter floated from the other room like a beacon of normalcy, pulling me back from the whirlwind of emotions that threatened to unmoor me. I can't this isn't just about me anymore. I have a daughter who needs stability, I whispered, my voice breaking slightly. His expression softened, shadows mingling with a glimmer of empathy. I understand. But I can help you create that stability, not shatter it. I want to protect you both. Protect? Or control? I felt the words escape my lips before I could catch them, an instinctual defense against the vulnerability gnawing at me. You have no idea what my life looks like, regardless of the wealth you surround yourself with. He slowly reached into his pocket, withdrawing a folded piece of paper. I know I have no right to ask this of you, but I've been in contact with someone who can validate my side of things. Just read this. I hesitated, the paper hovering between us like a gulf. And why should I trust you? Just because you stand before me, does that somehow erase the stories of deceit and betrayal? You believe you can treat me like one of your business negotiations? His gaze hardened for a moment, but the resolve quickly returned, and he took another step towards me. You're not like anyone I've met before, and that scares me too. But this isn't a game to me. I risked everything to come here because I couldn't let you walk away without giving us a chance. A flicker of hope ignited in my chest, conflicting fierceness wrestled with the innate desire to believe in him. The warmth of Clara's laughter continued to weave through the air, grounding me in the reality I fought so hard to protect. Please, he urged, more softly now. Just read it. If nothing else, it will give you insight into the truth behind the rumors. With trembling hands, I reached for the paper, unfolding it with caution. My heart thudded erratically as I scanned the contents. A formal letter from a lawyer detailing claims of false accusations and vindication attempts. There were photographs, included images of him with children at fundraisers, giving his time to charities that helped families in need. Each photo painted a different picture than I had anticipated, yet the skepticism still lingered in my heart, taunting me with what I had never been able to afford. Trust. As I stared at the evidence of his goodwill, my mind flitted to my own experiences, the disappointments buried deep where hope used to reside. Could a man like him, so seemingly drenched in chaos, really offer a different life than the one I had seen unravel for so long? Yet, before I could process my swirling emotions, there was a sudden commotion outside. My breath hitched as I turned towards the window, heart racing. A group of strangers had gathered by my front yard, voices raised and angry gestures aimed at the house. Panic surged through me like a tidal wave. What's happening? I gasped, glancing back at him, worry etching lines across my forehead. He tore his gaze from the scene, panic flaring in his eyes. I don't know, he replied, his voice strained. Then, as if in slow motion, one of the figures at the forefront turned, and I caught a glimpse of their face, a woman whose expression held an unmistakable fury. My heart dropped as recognition coursed through me like ice. Get inside, he shouted, but it was too late. In that moment, with that face, I realized the connection that bound everything together, the shadow that loomed ever closer. Just as the first shout reached my ears, a word hung heavy in the air, echoing back to that night in the crowd: betrayal. The heavy thud of my heart echoed in my ears as I gripped the paper in my hand, the words blurring into the background noise of anger unabated outside. I didn't want to turn back toward the window, to confront the truth that was forming before me. The recognition of that furious face haunted me like a specter from my past. Get Clara, he shouted, urgency punctuating his voice. My pulse raced, but it took everything in me to hold firm as the realization dawned that my past was not done with me yet. Who is she? I managed to ask, desperately searching his eyes for answers. The truth was that, in that moment, betrayal was slipping through my fingers like sand, and I needed clarity before the chaos unfolded into violence. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple as he ran a finger along his jaw. Her name is Rachel. She Rachel? I interrupted, disbelief swirling into my chest. The same Rachel from the articles? The one who, listen. He cut through my scattered thoughts, stepping closer. I know this looks bad, but trust me, she's twisted the story to suit her narrative. I wish I could explain, but if she's here, it means she's already made up her mind about you. I felt the air shift, oppressive and heavy with dread. I wanted to collapse under its weight, but I wouldn't. Not now, not with Clara's innocent laughter slowly drifting further away as the chaos drew closer. I couldn't abandon her, nor could I allow her to witness the dark shadows of my life pulling into this one, however tenuous my grasp on stability had been. Clara. I called out, forcing myself to sound calm, as if the roof wasn't threatening to collapse atop us. Stay inside, honey. Lock the door. As I turned, Rachel's furious voice, laced with spite, sliced through the air, ringing with the certainty of deep betrayal. You think you can just waltz back into his life, don't you? He doesn't belong to you. You think anyone can forget the truth about him? You, of all people, should know better. Each word felt like a stone thrown, aiming for a target I had fought so hard to protect. I could feel the world outside warming up, wrapping its claws around my skin, forcing me to face all the ugliness I had shielded myself from for years. Don't listen to her. My voice was stronger this time, but alarm skittered in my belly as I watched Rachel push her way further into the light, her frame stiff with fury. His hand shot out to grab my forearm, his grip steady yet fierce. Do you trust me? I'll handle this. Trust. The word pierced through the chaos, yet it was a concept I had wrestled with for so long, often built on disappointment. What if you can't? I responded, my voice trembling with fear I hadn't anticipated would resurface. What if this is all just another part of what you've dragged in here with you? For a split second, I saw vulnerability flicker across his face, the wildness of emotions competing within him: fear, anger, pain. Yet just as quickly, he swayed towards clarity. I won't let her hurt you, any of you. Just stay back. Amen to that. Rachel let out a bitter laugh. You know he's trapped between the devil and the deep blue sea. I pity you, honestly. If you think you can save him from what he really is, you're sorely mistaken. The malice rolled off her tongue in waves, churning the remnants of my resolve. Suddenly, Clara emerged from the hallway, her big, trusting eyes wide and innocent, eyes that were too young to understand the monstrous undertones of the world creeping in. Mom? She asked, her small voice a fragile light in the looming darkness. Clara, go back. I shouted in desperation, instinctively moving toward her as if my body could shield her from whatever terrible tide was coming, but Rachel's eyes gleamed with a twisted delight at the sight of my daughter. Oh, look what we have here. A sweet girl becoming collateral damage in a fight she knows nothing about. Don't you worry, little one, your mother has a very good reason to be scared. After all, the truth comes out one way or another. Enough. He bellowed, stepping in front of me, shielding us both with a certainty I didn't know he was capable of possessing. This is between us, Rachel. You're out of your depths. Yet, the warning felt hollow as she stepped closer, the stench of chaos modulating a cocktail of desperation and danger palpable in that moment. You think this is about you? It's never been about you. It's about the lies you feed people to mask your demons. To keep them blind to the darkness chasing you. With every accusation, a part of my spirit plummeted, mocking the hope I had struggled to clothe myself in. Was it true? Had I let myself become swept into someone else's nightmare without realizing it? But before I could utter another question, Rachel unveiled a photograph from her pocket, the very same one that hung in the faintest corner of my memory. A photo of a gathering I had thought buried along with the voices of the past. A gathering I should have never attended. See? She hissed, brandishing it with a malice that reflected every one of my own past betrayals. That's not a charity event. That's a masquerade meant fool the faithful. And you, good people, have just become the latest mark in his elaborate game. As I stepped back, the room spinning, her words struck a resonating chord of fear deep within me, sending my mind spiraling into chaos. Just as realization dawned, the door behind Clara creaked open wider, and all conversations ceased. A woman stepped inside, her features strikingly familiar, a startling anchor to the past where I had tried so hard to break free. She didn't speak, but the silence that engulfed the room felt weighted, as if everything that had passed was waiting to unravel in a single thread. The shock of recognition hovered in the air, like the calm before the storm. That it wasn't just Rachel who carried the echoes of my past, it was also that woman, stepping forward, impervious to the mounting anger outside, her gaze fixed on me and the man I had yet to fully assess. Unraveling composed chaos was about to erupt, and all I could do was cling desperately to the last threads of stability. "Why are you here?" I whispered, my voice trembling as her face transformed into a landscape of emotions, bearing tales of grief and secrets. I felt Clara tugging on my sleeve, her presence a reminder that no matter how deep the entanglement became, I needed to protect her, even if it meant facing the demons I had once thought would remain shadowed forever. The tension in the room thickened like the oppressive heat of summer, a miasma made even heavier by the weight of unspoken truths. Clara's small hand, warm and trusting, tugged at my sleeve, grounding me even as the edges of reality began to blur. I couldn't tear my eyes from the woman who had entered, each heartbeat amplifying my dread. She looked exactly like the ghost I had tried to forget. "Lila," she whispered, her voice a soft melody fraught with unshed tears and buried memories. The name felt foreign on her lips, yet it echoed through the chambers of my mind like a familiar song I had long abandoned, held hostage by sorrow and regret. "Mommy?" Clara's voice was a thin thread of innocence weaving through the fabric of rising chaos. I could barely manage a nod, my heart a pendulum swinging between anxiety and disbelief. How had this woman who left like a flickering candle in a storm returned to light the dark corners of my heart once more? "Why are you here?" I finally managed, the syllables heavy as they left my lips. "After everything, because I couldn't stay away any longer," she replied, her eyes shimmering with a sorrow that mirrored my own. "I heard what was happening and I had to know." Rachel's laughter pierced the fragile moment, a harsh reminder of the hostility brewing all around. "Oh, look at that. The prodigal mother finally returns, emboldened by the scent of drama. How poetic." Her derision slithered through the air, saturating it with a bitter tang. "Enough," he growled, stepping forward, an anchor against the storm of fury swirling around us. I couldn't help but admire the way he stood, solid and defiant against Rachel's venom. Yet doubt crept in again. Had I truly traded one storm for another? "Let's just talk about this," I pleaded, my voice breaking as Clara continued to clutch my side, oblivious to the suffocating turmoil. "We don't need to fight. Talk." Rachel scoffed, crossing her arms. "You think you can talk your way out of this? Don't kid yourself, Lila. You've been living a lie. Just be honest with your daughter. She deserves to know about the monster who calls himself your fiancé." "Stop it." I couldn't hold back the tremor in my voice. "You don't know what you're saying. Clara needs the truth, but what? You think she can't handle the truth?" Rachel shot back, her eyes narrowing. "You're the one who has been shielding her from the facts, like a rabbit hiding from the storm. Only to drag her into another one." Clara looked up at me, confusion and fear twisting her innocent features. "Mommy, who are they? Why are they fighting?" My heart shattered for what I was putting her through. It had always been my intention to protect Clara. How had I brought this storm upon us? "It's okay, sweetheart," I said gently, stroking her hair. But could any reassurance quell the tempest threatening to engulf us all? "Could you at least consider that it's you who needs to wake up?" Rachel hissed, stepping closer, a predator closing in. "You're letting him pull the wool over your eyes while you clutch close to these delusions. I just want you to see him for what he truly is." "Stop." The word escaped my lips in a harsh whisper, cutting through the air like a knife. "Just stop. It is too late to hide from the truth, Lila," the woman said, stepping beside Rachel, her presence like an uninvited shadow. "You need to understand everyone deserves the chance to confront their past." The intensity in her voice left an indelible mark, forcing my gaze to dart between the whirlwind of familiar faces. "You've been hiding, but you can't run forever." I wanted to argue, to fight against the truth they spun so cruelly. Yet, the quiet conviction in her eyes held me tethered, leaving me exposed and vulnerable. Then I felt Clara's little fingers tightening in my grip, as if she understood the gravity of our situation far better than I wished she would. That's when a spark of defiance ignited within my soul. I couldn't let them tear us apart. I had to hold on to what little hope remained. Clara, I began softly, turning to my daughter, forcing my heart to settle. Despite the chaos surrounding us, I love you. No matter what happens, that will never change. You are my light. Still, doubt not at me. Could love truly shield her from the harshness of reality? Could I keep her safe when darkness lurked so closely? Rachel's mouth twisted into a predatory grin. Here's the thing, Lila. Love doesn't protect you. It can pull you in, blinding you to the truth of who you are standing beside. You think you can trump the past with love? It doesn't work that way. Stay away from her. He growled again, more fiercely this time, but Rachel's eyes flickered, a cold satisfaction washing over her. Do you really think she would allow you to hold her hand through this? Rachel's voice softened into a whisper, almost conspiratorial. When it becomes clear that you are just a piece in an elaborate game, where betrayal is the rule and consequences the prize? Who will really be left standing? In that fragile moment, I felt a steadiness beneath my feet begin to tremor once more. The past was right outside. I had no say about whether it would come sweeping into our lives. Time had never been on my side, and Clara's bright innocence might soon be muddied by a storm I had tried to evade for years. The silence stretched, taut and foreboding, until like a thunderclap, unexpected footsteps rumbled from the hallway. My heart dropped, a new wave of dread washing over me as I saw a flash of concern reflected on his face. The door opened wider, and to my horror, another figure appeared at the threshold. It was someone I had never anticipated seeing. A man with defined features, a mischievous glint in his eye, and an aura of familiarity that swept the air away from my lungs. Sorry I'm late, he said coolly, a smirk touching his lips even as the world around me spiraled into chaos once again. But I heard there was a family reunion happening without me. Mind if I join? In his presence, all the pain I had been trying to fend off surged together, a vicious storm closing in tightly around us. The past, it seemed, wasn't done with me yet. The room hinged on a precarious silence, each breath a thin thread of tension strung tightly between bodies, unresolved emotions, and unspoken words. Clara's small hand trembled in mine, and as I glanced down at her, I saw a flicker of confusion mixed with fear. I wanted to shield her from it all, to tell her we were safe, but every voice around us bled uncertainty into our fragile little world. The man who had just walked in bore an uncanny resemblance to the shadows of my past. His presence felt like a shipwrecked memory emerging from its watery grave, familiar yet devastating. I had often painted a canvas of what-ifs, of dreams unfulfilled, revolving around a life that never came to fruition. Now, here he stood, Lucas. He reached for the truth wrapped in layers of our shared history. Two lives once intertwined now untethered, the laughter that had hung thick in the air now evaporated, replaced by an undercurrent of disbelief and dread. Rachel's stare flickered from Lucas to me, her smirk dissolving into a pile of apprehension. No way, she muttered, her voice cracking like ice under pressure. This just keeps getting better. The tension in the atmosphere shifted. It was as if time rewound to moments I had long buried. Lucas had been a spark of light in my darkest days. Someone who had lifted me when all was lost, the embodiment of dreams and desires. But reality slammed into me like a tidal wave, washing away any fragments of nostalgia, replaced instead by the ache of betrayal. Lila, he said, his voice smooth yet laced with something indecipherable. I was in the area and thought I'd stop by. I didn't know. The sentences faltered, his gaze sweeping the room, pausing on Clara, whose innocent eyes widened in recognition. Daddy? She whispered hesitantly, clutching my side tighter. The word sent a sharp pang of anguish slicing through the remnants of my heart. She saw him as the fearless protector, unaware of the ghosts that shadowed our past. Clara, sweetie, this isn't, I breathed out, tearing my gaze from Lucas, intent on not allowing our memories to cloud the present. But he was already rolling with it, a practiced smile returning to his lips, the kind I had once found comforting. "Hey there, little one," he said, kneeling to meet her gaze, his eyes softening. "I see you've grown. You're just as beautiful as I remember." "Oh, honey," Rachel said, injecting herself into the moment, "you should really reconsider the whole reunion angle. He's not the fairy tale your mother made him out to be." "Enough." My voice cracked, the desperation in it more palpable than the heaviness surrounding me. I felt both like a mother defending her child and a woman trying to keep my heart from shattering at the hands of the past. "Let us not ruin a perfectly good moment," Lucas countered lightly, shooting Rachel a glare that could have melted steel. But the darkness lurked just beneath the surface, like a predator waiting to pounce. "Lila, we need to talk," he insisted, turning back to me, something in his eyes igniting that familiar flicker of trust. But trust was a fragile construct, easily torn apart by the weight of hurt and betrayal. "Do we?" I challenged, my voice quivering as fear overtook a sense of yearning I desperately tried to suppress. "Do you think now is really the time for whatever you have to say?" "Then maybe it's time for a proper introduction," Rachel interjected, her voice dripping with malice. "What secrets are you hiding, Lucas? Care to enlighten this family gathering?" The room felt suffocating under her gaze, and I saw Clara's eyes dart back and forth, confused and scared. It was all unraveling too fast, missing pieces falling into place where I had hoped to keep them locked away. Lucas's face shifted, wiping the playful smile clean. "There are some things you don't know, Lila." His voice dropped, pulling me in closer. The seriousness flooding the air felt like a storm brewing, powerful and electric that I stepped back, my heart thudding, fearless warning bells ringing in my mind. The moment of confrontation loomed between us, raw and turbulent. And yet there remained an unspoken bond, the lingering hope for understanding. Clara, unaware of the depth of this chasm, stepped in front of me, a shield forged from innocence and steam. "Mommy, is he bad?" Clara asked, her voice breaking through the weighty silence that I opened my mouth to reassure her, but the words tangled in my throat, lost in the chaos of the past and the uncertainties of the present. But the intensity in Lucas's eyes bore into me, holding a weight far heavier than the sins that hung in the air. "Clara," I finally whispered, "there's so much I haven't told you." "Then tell her the truth, Lila," Rachel pressed, a wicked smile forging on her lips, watching me unravel. "But know this, a lie can only carry you so far before the cracks start to show." "Shut up!" I screamed, my voice echoing through the room, drawing all eyes back to me. The storm was building once more, and as I steadied myself in the storm's eye, the truth began to shape itself into something terrifyingly clear. "I can't protect her from the past." My voice wavered. "It's already a part of our life. But I'm trying to shield her from the fallout." Clara glanced between the troubled souls before her, tears glistening in her eyes as she said, "I don't want anything to change. I love you, Mommy, and it's okay, right?" At that moment, my heart cracked open, the weight of my fear swirling with a desperate need to shield her from a world that offered more chaos than clarity. Glancing back at Lucas, I saw the shadows lurking behind him, familiar yet haunting. What was he hiding from me? "Lucas, what aren't you telling me?" I found myself whispering, the fissures growing deeper as uncertainty pressed tighter. Before he could answer, the door swung wide, revealing a stranger, revealing a secret wrapped in layers of misunderstanding, a police officer in full uniform. The atmosphere jolted, sharp murmurs cutting through the air. "Ma'am, we need to speak with you. There's been an incident. We believe it relates to your fiancé." I felt the ground shift beneath me, unsteady and oppressive, as my world spiraled into an abyss darker than I ever imagined. As Clara clutched my side, innocent and unaware, my heart dropped into a freezing pit, the whispers of the past quickly turning into a resounding scream for the truth hidden beneath the surface. The police officer's presence felt like a heavy weight crushing the fragile air left in the room. I could barely process his words, the implications strangling any coherent thought. My heart raced as Clara's innocent gaze flickered from me to the man in uniform. A small hand tightened its grip around my waist, her wide eyes searching for answers I didn't have. "An incident?" I echoed, my voice shaking. What do you mean? What happened? I'm sorry to disturb you, ma'am, he said, a hint of compassion in his tone that felt painfully misplaced. But we need to talk about your fiancé, Nathan. We believe he might be in some trouble. A cold shiver crept through my spine at the mention of Nathan's name. I had lost myself in confusion and chaos, but one certainty remained: I had to protect Clara at all costs. He's fine. There's no need for concern, I stammered, hoping my words could cast away the dark clouds forming around us. The officer shifted his weight, his eyes serious yet kind. I'm afraid that's not the case, ma'am. We need to take your statement regarding recent activities. It's urgent. Recent activities? The phrase felt like a cold slap. I turned to look at Lucas, whose face had fallen into shadow, his previous playfulness slipping away like sand through fingers. There was a shift in the atmosphere, a subtle understanding passing between us. I had not only brought Clara into the eye of the storm, I had awakened demons that had long been dormant. I don't know what you're talking about, I insisted, but my body ached with the desperation of the unspoken truths that danced just out of reach. Please, let us take this somewhere private, the officer suggested gently. But the notion of leaving Clara's side sent a jolt of panic slicing through my resolve. Mommy, I'm scared, she whispered, her small voice tremoring against my heart. Stay close to me, Clara, I managed. I won't leave you. I looked at the officer, summoning a weight of hesitation in my gaze. Can't this wait? Whatever this is, I promise I'll cooperate, but my daughter, I understand, he interrupted with firmness, but we cannot afford to wait. You deserve to know what's happening right now. Fine, I acquiesced, clutching Clara's hand in mine like a lifeline. The world around us blurred as we followed the officer into the dim corridor filled with echoes of our fractured lives. I felt the weight of disappointment, the disheartening revelation that my past had woven itself into my present, threatening to consume us whole. As we entered a small meeting room, the officer closed the door behind us. Clara perched on a chair, her small frame dwarfed by its size. I knelt beside her, our foreheads nearly touching, grounding her in the moment. You're safe with me, love. I promise. Looking up at me with trusting eyes, Clara bit her lip, an action I recognized from the times she worried about the things she couldn't understand, a habit that mirrored my own struggles within this storm. Ma'am, the officer began cautiously, Nathan has been found at the scene of a potential crime. A crime? I interrupted, a knot tightening in my stomach. What kind of crime? Reports indicate there was an altercation at the club where he often works as a bouncer. Witnesses said that he was involved in a fight and subsequently left the scene in a vehicle. His whereabouts are currently unknown. We're concerned for his safety as well as for anyone he might have crossed paths with, he explained, each word stabbing at my heart like shards of glass. Oh God, I gasped, the color draining from my face as fear took root in my veins. Could Lucas's return be the catalyst for this? What is Nathan involved in? He wouldn't Lila, Lucas interrupted, his voice low but urgent. You can't protect him from everything. He has secrets, things you don't know about. I shot him a furious look, fury mixed with fear, caught in the undertow of unresolved emotions. And you should talk, Lucas. I snapped, my heart racing. You're the last person who gets to judge. Lila, listen. Lucas stepped closer, his eyes seizing mine. This isn't just about your life now. There are consequences for choices you've made, for trusting Nathan. You have to realize. Before he could finish, Clara trembled beside me, her small hand squeezing mine with an urgency that drowned out the chaos of the adult world crashing around us. Mommy, I want to go home. I don't like this place. Tears sprang to my eyes, the raw truth of her fear threatening to break my heart in two. I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. I'm doing everything I can, I whispered, turning back to the officer. What can I do to help Nathan? You need to be prepared for the possibility that he may not want to be found or that he may not even want to come back, Lucas added softly, the weight of his words palpable that I swallowed hard, feeling a fracture in my resolve. The pressure was building, and I held my breath, wanting to deny the reality unfolding before me. Would Nathan turn away from us? Would I lose the only semblance of stability I had fought for? Where is he? Can we still reach him? The fight erupted inside me, a desperate plea born from a maternal instinct that wouldn't allow hope to disappear. Wherever he is, the officer said slowly, only he can decide if he is willing to face what has come to pass. But look, you deserve to be aware of what this could mean for you and your daughter. A deafening silence engulfed the room as realization washed over me, the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a storm cloud. And at that moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the suffocating tension. Fear coursed through me as I fished it out, trembling fingers swiping across its screen. I glanced down, face paling in shock. It was a message from Nathan, his words tinged with urgency and despair, an echo of a life I thought I knew. I'm sorry, but I can't explain right now, they're coming for me. The room spun, leaving a terrifying abyss in my chest as I stared at the screen, my heart thunderous and heavy. Time seemed to stretch infinitely as the words danced in my mind, a harbinger of impending chaos lurking just out of sight. What had I brought Clara into? Lila? Lucas's voice pulled me back, but I remained lost in the maelstrom of unknowns, my heart split between fear for Nathan and an instinct to shield Clara from the storm that lay ahead. In that breathless silence, I realized something even more chilling. The shadows I had once fled were closing in faster than I could have ever imagined. And the world I fought to protect was on the brink of unraveling in a way I never saw coming. The weight of Nathan's message fell heavily on my shoulders, a shroud of dread enveloping me as I processed his words. Clara watched me, her little brow furrowed in confusion, her innocence a stark contrast to the darkness threatening to consume our lives. "Mommy, what's wrong?" she asked, her small voice pulling me back from the edge of my thoughts. I swallowed hard, momentarily losing myself in those two wide eyes that still offered trust, despite the storm swirling around us. "Nothing, sweetheart," I forced a smile, though it felt as fragile as a porcelain doll. "Just a little longer, and we'll be home." But as I glanced at Lucas, I could see the worry etched in his features, his own battles evident in the tightness of his jaw. "Lila, you need to think about what this means. If Nathan is in trouble, it's serious, deeper than we realized." The officer watched us closely, a mixture of professionalism and concern painted on his face. "Ma'am, we might be able to trace him. But you'll need to help us by telling us everything you know about him, his contacts, routines, people he might be associated with." The words hit me like rocks, each one heavy with the implications of Nathan's possible choices. What had I missed in the man I loved? "You think he is involved in something illegal?" The accusation was more of a plea than a question, as if denying it could shield me from the reality of the situation. "Nathan's not a bad person," I said, looking to Lucas for support, but I found only an uneasy silence. "He wouldn't do anything that could put Clara or me in danger." As the officer hesitated, I saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes, and suddenly, I realized I had to protect Clara from more than just the truth about Nathan. I had to protect her from the reality that surrounded us. "I can't betray him, he is part of our family." "Family?" Lucas scoffed, frustration boiling beneath his calm exterior. "Lila, by marrying him, what kind of reality are you really creating for yourself and Clara?" Tears welled in my eyes as I struggled against the rising tide of anger and fear. "You think I chose this life? I've worked so hard to keep her safe from the sudden sharp ping of my phone cut us off, vibrating aggressively against the table. There, another message from Nathan glared back at me, bleak against the backdrop of uncertainty. "I need you to trust me. Don't call anyone. I'll handle this. Just keep Clara close." Lila. Lucas reached out, a glimmer of concern breaking through his frustration. "What is it? What did he say?" I took a breath, feeling the tight coil in my chest tighten further as I shared the words. He says he'll handle it. We shouldn't call anyone." The officer's face darkened, a mixture of worry and professional resolve. "That's not a good sign, ma'am. If he's in trouble, you need to report this. You can't risk Clara's safety based on promises." But all I could think about was the promise I had made him: unconditional love, no matter the cost. I can't, I whispered, heart racing with the knowledge that following my instinct might put Clara in further jeopardy. Mommy? Clara's voice quivered, pulling me back into the present where shadows danced behind walls I had built high and steady. Why does he need to handle it alone? Her innocence shattered my heart, the naivety of a child faced with the adult burdens I tried to shield her from. I didn't have the words to explain, nor did I want to admit how fragile our reality truly was. The officer tapped his pen against the clipboard with a sense of urgency. Lila, you need to make a choice. You can either protect Nathan or put Clara first. In that moment, I felt the ground beneath me shift. It was as if reality had splintered, and I stood at the edge of two divergent paths, both of them fraught with risk and heartache. What if Nathan didn't want saving? What if he was involved in something beyond redemption? Suddenly, the flicker of hope within me sensed a presence, a warmth that tugged at my heart. What if I breathed, urgency rising in my voice? What if I reach out to someone I know? Someone who might help without putting Clara in danger? There has to be a way. Lucas met my gaze, something flickering in his eyes, igniting memories of trust we had once shared. Do you think they can find him? I don't know, I answered softly, but the desire to do something, anything, burned like a flame deep within. Whatever Nathan was entangled in, I had to believe there was a way to navigate through it, to keep our little family together. I can't just sit here. Lila, make sure you do it quietly, the officer urged, his voice steady yet laced with concern. We don't know what kind of people we're dealing with. In that charged moment, I stood with Clara's tiny hand firmly in mine, my heart racing with newfound resolve. I will find him, I will protect my family, I vowed softly, though the words felt like an incantation against the darkness. But just as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed again, an incoming call lighting up the screen. My heart leaped as I glanced at the caller ID. It was Nathan's sister, Elise, a woman who had always seemed to tread the line between distant and protective. Lila, pick up, Lucas urged, his eyes intense. Maybe she knows something, I murmured, hesitating before answering. But as I swiped to connect, the anxious tightness in my chest morphed into something altogether more chaotic. Elise? I breathed into the phone, but there was only silence on the other end. Then, an unexpected rustle, the sound of hurried whispers, and the realization that something was very wrong rushed through me like ice. Nathan, as her voice broke, a fragile tremor underlying the certainty of her words. He's not safe, Lila. You need to run. A wave of fear crashed over me, sweeping Clara's hand from mine and pulling me into the depths of uncertainty. I stared at Lucas, bewildered. The revelation hung thick in the air. What did Elise know that we didn't? As my finger hovered over the end call button, I knew that everything had shifted again, each moment cascading into chaos. The only glimmer of certainty was that I needed to protect my daughter, and that the past I had fought to shield would soon come rushing back with a vengeance. And in this dark, entwined web of secrets and lies, I had to uncover the truth, the one that kept Nathan, and now possibly Clara, at the center of a storm I didn't yet fully understand. The moment Elise's words sank in, a chill coursed through my body, transforming my resolve into frozen urgency. What do you mean? What is going on? I managed to ask, my throat dry, heart pounding against my ribcage like a desperate bird trying to escape. Clara stood by my side, her eyes wide, sensing the sudden shift in my demeanor, her small fingers curling into my leg. Elise, please, I whispered again, desperation creeping in. You have to tell me what Nathan is involved in. What danger is he in? Is Clara safe? Her breaths came out in quick bursts, each one tinged with panic. I can't explain everything right now, but Lila, he's in way over his head. There are people looking for him, people connected to things I can't even begin to fathom. You need to leave. Now. Leave? Where? The thought shook me to my core. I couldn't just run without a plan, without understanding what we were facing. I can't just uproot Clara from everything she knows. I can't, Lila, please. You don't understand. If they find you, they'll come after you both. Nathan is in hiding for a reason, and he needs to be the one to explain everything, but that might be a long shot. The reality of Elise's words washed over me like icy water. Is he in trouble with the law? I dared to ask, but the tremor in my voice suggested a deep-rooted fear I couldn't shake. Elise paused, a heavy silence looming. Not just the law, Lila. It's worse than I can say. Just trust me on this. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Nathan's past had always held shadows, but I never thought it could morph into something so perilous. I will, Elise. But you have to promise me that you'll stay in touch. I can't protect Clara without you keeping me informed. Just get out of there, Lila. I'll reach out when it's safe. With that, she hung up, leaving me with the echo of her last words reverberating like a haunting melody. I looked towards Lucas, but the confrontational edge in his gaze was softened by genuine concern. What did she say? He asked quietly, though I could sense his desire for answers being overshadowed by dread. She said we might not be safe. Nathan is in some kind of deep trouble, and he has been hiding for a reason. The weight of the truth squeezed the air from my lungs, and I struggled to hold my composure in front of Clara, who still clung to my side, a trusting light in a dim world. She could be wrong, Lila, Lucas offered uncertainly. Maybe she's overreacting. I shook my head, feeling a crack form in my heart. No, Lucas. I need to take her seriously. We can't risk our safety. Not anymore. But running away, I don't even know where to go. His expression shifted, veins of resolve threading through his concern. Look, we can figure something out. We can talk to my parents, they have the space, and they could help. It wouldn't be permanent, just until we figure out what is going on. The thought was comforting yet terrifying. What if Nathan finds us? The fear slipped from my mouth before I could check it. As if my thoughts had summoned the tension back to the room, Lucas moved closer, lowering his voice. Then we'll have to face it together. I won't let him hurt you. The determination laced in his words stirred something deep within me. Perhaps it was the flicker of hope or simply the need for reassurance. Okay, I nodded, swallowing hard, every instinct warring within me. Barriers are going up. We head there now. We take what we can and leave the rest behind. Together, we turned toward the door, the weight of Clara's small hand anchoring me as we stepped into the uncertain night. The world outside welcomed us with an unsettling calm. The streetlights flickered like whispers of secrets being shared, shadows lazily dancing against the pavement, but I felt the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Clara's soft voice broke through the quiet, her innocent question shrouded in confusion. Mommy, are we going to see Daddy? The air rushed from my lungs, each breath felt like a fragile thread pulling me closer to an emotional chasm. Clara, I paused, trying to shield her from the truth, but how could I lie? We might not see Daddy for a little while. But he loves you very much, sweetheart. A tender frown creased her forehead, the absence of understanding painted across her tiny features. I miss him. The ache in my heart deepened. I know, baby. I miss him too, I admitted softly, the words tumbling out like bricks weighing heavily on my soul. But we had to keep moving. We needed to stay one step ahead, the hope that Nathan would somehow explain himself and protect us both fading like the evening light that as we arrived at my car and began to load up into the cramped back seat, Lucas beside Clara, my hands trembling slightly on the wheel. A profound sense of dread enveloped me once more. Where was Nathan? Would he reach out before it was too late? An unexpected buzz interrupted my spiraling thoughts, tugging at my attention. It was a text from an unknown number, the words chilling me to the bone. You shouldn't have left. You can't protect her from this. I glanced at Lucas, heart slamming against my ribs, and I saw the same cold realization dawn in his eyes. We weren't alone in this desperate night. As I turned my gaze from the screen back to the road ahead, fear unfurled like a dense fog, consuming me with every mile. We need to hurry, I whispered, but even I didn't know what awaited us on the other side of the dark horizon. The weight of the past settled over me like a heavy cloak, and every moment felt like a race against time. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white against the dark leather. Clara remained quiet, her innocent gaze stealing glances at the rain streaking down the window, oblivious to the storm of fear raging inside me. I had fought so hard to keep her shielded from the world's chaos, yet here we were caught in the tumult. "Are we going to see Daddy soon?" she asked again, her voice tinged with hope. The flicker of trust in her eyes cut deeper than any accusation Rachel had hurled earlier. "Soon, sweetie," I managed, but the lie felt heavy on my heart. What if soon didn't he come? The road stretched endlessly before us, and with each mile, my resolve tightened. "I miss him," she repeated, her small voice breaking like glass. "I know, love, but right now, we are keeping you safe," I whispered, forcing a smile as I turned to glance back at her. Lucas sat beside her, his presence both solid and reassuring, grounding me in the moment. "Lila," he began quietly, "we need to consider our next step carefully. Wherever we go, we can't let Nathan find us until we know the full story." I nodded, waving off the thoughts of how much I was still trying to protect. "I know that, but I can't shake the feeling that he's in real trouble." My heart ached at the unspoken connection between us that had once felt like home. Would there be a way to understand, to heal the fractures that now lay between our lives? Seemingly aware that something dark loomed over us, Clara's hand crept towards mine. "Mommy?" she asked, uncertainty lacing her tone. "Is it going to be okay?" "Yes," I promised, even as dread coiled within me. "Everything will be okay." But nothing felt certain. The message from that unknown number echoed in my mind. "You can't protect her from this." Who were they? What did they know? And how had they known where to find us? My thoughts spiraled as rain pelted against the windshield, transforming the world outside into a watercolor of distorted shapes and blurry lights. I flicked the wipers on high, desperate to clear the way forward. "We can stop at my parents' place first," I said, "and lay low until I figure things out." Lucas nodded in agreement, though his eyes reflected a flicker of worry. "Just remember, Lila, no one can be trusted blindly. Not even Nathan." Every fiber in my being wanted to refute his words, to cling to the love I felt for Nathan, but doubt clenched at my heart. How could I reconcile the man I cared for with the chaos threatening to engulf us? As we neared my parents' neighborhood, an unease settled in my chest. The street was cloaked in shadows, the streetlights flickering ominously. When I pulled up in front of their quaint home, a wave of nostalgia washed over me, accompanied by the weight of trepidation. "Stay in the car," I instructed as I pulled the keys from the ignition, anxious to dash to the door and ensure the coast was clear. Lucas moved forward, reaching for the door handle, clearly prepared to follow. "Lila, wait. Don't go in alone," he cautioned, his voice firm. "If there are people after Nathan, we need to be careful." I shot him a glance and glanced back at Clara, whose wonder dulled by the storm was palpable. "I will be quick," I promised, but doubt gnawed at me. Making a swift decision, I pushed open my door and stepped into the cool night. The rain lightly misted around me as each footfall echoed a silent prayer. I knocked on the door, my heartbeat drumming in my ears, a mixture of desperation and dread. Moments felt like hours before the door swung open, revealing my mother's kind face marred by immediate concern. "Lila. Thank God you're here." I was so worried. "Mom, we need your help," I said breathlessly, stepping into the warm embrace of home even as shadows lurked just beyond the threshold. "There are things happening, dangerous things." "Danger? What are you talking about?" she asked, her brow furrowing, and just as the words began to spill from my mouth, a loud crash erupted from behind me that I turned instinctively, a primal fear surging through me as I spotted Lucas struggling against a figure in the shadows, a man, tall and menacing, whose face was obscured by darkness. "Get Clara!" Lucas shouted, before tearing away from the attacker's grip, lunging towards me to push my mother aside as I raced back toward the car. In a split second, everything shattered. The unknown man lurched forward, grabbing Lucas by the collar, their struggle folding them into a whirlwind of chaos. Panic coiled like a tightened noose as Clara shrieked beside me, the innocence of her world about to give way to something monstrous. Without thinking, I dove into the fray, fear sharpening my instincts as I cried, Get away from him. As my voice echoed into the night. Lucas shoved the man back with a fierce push, but the figure retaliated, swinging an arm that knocked Lucas sideways. A burst of adrenaline surged within me, and I lunged forward with clarity. Clara! Get inside the house! I screamed, watching as she hesitated, her small frame seemingly frozen as fear overtook her small face. Run! With a small shriek, she darted into the house, and in her wake, the darkness enveloped me. I felt the man's hand grip my arm, pulling me sharply to the side, disorienting me with the chaos swirling around. Where is he? The man growled, a voice smooth and menacing, filled with foreboding. Where's Nathan? Let me go. I yelled, fighting against the hold, but it only tightened, fiery anger bubbling within me as I fought back, knowing I had to protect Clara despite the danger that loomed. Suddenly, lights flashed from a passing car, illuminating the figure, partially a moment's clarity against the chaos. I recognized him, and the knot in my gut tightened further. You! I spat, and something shifted within me, rage spiraling as the realization dawned on me. Nathan's past wasn't just a whisper on the wind, it was right in front of me, facing down against all I loved. Where is he? The man demanded again, drawing closer, the menace brimming in his voice. Get away from her! Lucas yelled, finally breaking free from the tussle as he swung at the man, landing a punch square in his jaw. This time, as chaos erupted in flashes and screams shattered the night, I focused everything within me and screamed, shut up. Let us talk about this. The man stepped back, momentarily surprised by the intensity of my voice. Then tell me where Nathan is, he demanded, the tension buzzing in the air between us. I don't know. I don't know. I shouted, chasing the heat rising within me, my mind racing through every memory of Nathan, recalling moments that felt distant yet achingly close. I just need you to leave him alone. But the shadows that crept close tugged at my heart, threatening to unravel everything I had fought to protect. Then Lucas, breathing heavily, placed himself between me and the attacker. Lila, we can't let him go, he said, his voice stable, yet there was fear in those eyes. Enough. The man shouted again, stepping into the light of the street lamp. His face contorted with rage, but I still hesitated, recognizing the mixture of desperation and pain lurking behind those hardened eyes. Something deep within me shuddered. Nathan had been linked to the darkness beyond. What had he really brought into our lives? Wait, I said, conviction settling into my bones as I looked directly at him. What do you want from us? His eyes sharp, he wrestled against the truth that laid heavily in the air. I want what belongs to us. Nathan made a choice, and now, so must he. But you, this will only get messier if you're standing in the way. Then tell me how to help. I insisted, the ember of defiance igniting in my chest, shaping my words into something sharper. There's a child here, don't use her as leverage. He faltered, and in that fleeting moment of uncertainty, I saw a flicker of humanity behind those dark eyes. He put himself in harm's way, and you should know by now, it's not safe for you. Why? What has he done? Enough of this, he snapped once again, readying himself for a response. But before he could move, Lucas lunged forward. Again, fists ready, desperation flowing like a tidal wave within him, the world felt like it had split open, shadows leaching from the darkness. I couldn't let the cycle of violence continue to draw Clara into its depth. I had to step in now before it was too late. No! I screamed, pushing towards him. Talk to us. Just talk. Lila. Lucas cried, urgency tightening his voice as he dodged the man's swinging fist. My heart raced as I stepped further forward, feeling the threat of violence creep dangerously close. Then, in an instant, the man turned and darted down the street, his figure melting into the night. I stood frozen for a moment, making sense of what just transpired, fear and confusion swirling in my mind. Clara! I yelled, turning back toward the house, my heart pounding as I sprinted towards the sound of her faint whimpering. I threw open the door to find her crouched by the hallway, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mommy! She wept, and the moment felt like a knife through my heart. Shoo! It's okay, I soothed, rushing toward her and wrapping her in my arms. You're safe with me. I promise. But even as I whispered reassurances, doubt gnawed at my insides. What had I protected her from and at what cost? Lucas joined us, crouching beside us, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. They're coming back, he said, his awareness slicing through the humid tension in the air. We need to get out of here. Where do we go? I asked, knowing the answer would determine our fate. Anywhere but here, he replied, filled with urgency, but I could see the determination in his eyes, a willingness to stand and fight if necessary. I can't let him hurt you. After all this trouble, I won't let it end in tragedy, I whispered, and I knew then that neither man represented safety. The sad reality was that I had to fight back for my family. Clara, listen to me, I said gently, cupping her face in my hands, forcing her to meet my gaze. We're going to be brave. We can do this together. Lucas and I exchanged knowing glances, understanding blooming between us. It was time to stop tiptoeing around the edges of our past and face the shadows head-on. Let us move, Lucas urged, glancing toward the door. We'll figure this out on the way. Clara squeezed my hand one last time, fear etched into her features, and I pulled her close, my heart breaking for the innocence she deserved instead of the chaos we'd been dragged into. You're my light, I murmured before we made our way out into the dark, uncertain night, grounded in the love I felt for Clara and the flicker of steadfastness in Lucas's resolve to protect us both. As the rain began to fall, wrapping the night in a thick veil of uncertainty, I held on tightly to what fight remained within me, vowing to navigate through the shadows toward the light I sought for our future. Somewhere deep down, I knew that together we could confront whatever lay ahead together, we could find our way back to the light. And with a final look back, as if to say goodbye to the familiarity of the past, I whispered softly into the night, I will protect us. Taking Clara's small hand, I forged onward. In the end, we were more than just the storm, we were the fighters that would rise against the tide. And as long as I could breathe, I would bear the weight of the shadows to keep that spark of love alight.